I'm Vinnie Politan. Thank you so much for joining us here on Closing Arguments. And we're going to start off this hour talking about the Harmony Montgomery case. And there she is. You know, she still hasn't been found. She still has not been found. She's still missing tonight. She has not been laid to rest. It's unreal when you think about it. But the two people who were in her life as parents, I look at this picture and I say, those were her parents? Adam on the left, career criminal father with the teardrop eye tattoo there. And then evil stepmom Kayla on the right. Wow. Wow. Now, we know what happened to Adam Montgomery. Done. Convicted first as a career criminal, but now convicted of the murder of Harmony. So he's done. He's done. He's not going to be walking among us, okay? But how about Kayla Montgomery, right? I mean, she was there like every step of the way. Her hands are not clean. Yeah, she testified for the prosecution, but her hands are not clean. I want to remind you tonight of what she did and what she didn't do. Take a look.
I put my arm up and said to stop, but he looks at me and he gave me this look that was like evil. It's his crazy eyes. I didn't like it, and I couldn't stop him from hitting her, because the look that he gave me was scary. I was scared. He said he thinks that he really hurt her. And he felt something.
When did you realize that Harmony had passed away?
When Adam was trying to wake her up and she didn't reply or anything. He took the duffel bag that was in the trunk and put her in the duffel bag. He asked me to bring the bag to his job.
How did you get there from the Families in Transition shelter to his work?
I walked.
And where was the bag at that point?
In the stroller.
Was anyone with you during that walk?
My two kids.
Why did you obey the defendant when he told you to bring Harmony's body in that bag to his work?
Because I was scared.
Kayla, why are you currently incarcerated?
For perjury, for lying to the jury about the whereabouts of where I was and where Harmony was.
And when you say lying to the jury, was that the grand jury?
Yes.
Did you also lie to the police?
Yes.
Why'd you do that?
Because I was scared, and I was told by Adam to stick with that story, but I felt like I was doing the right thing.
Because you wanted to do the right thing?
Yes.
So you went to the police station to do the right thing for the investigation?
Right.
And you went to the police station to do the right thing for Harmony?
Right.
And you went to the police station and told them that, as far as you knew, Adam drove Harmony to Crystal's?
Yes.
So you went to the police station to do the right thing, which was to lie?
Not only did she lie, after she witnesses the murder of a child in the car, right? Then she decides to make another baby with Adam. What is going on here? What is going on with this woman? She's up for parole, had a parole hearing today. Now, I spoke with Harmony's mother, Crystal Sorey, about that parole hearing on a prior episode of this show. Take a listen.
I don't believe that she should just be out and frolicking around and, yeah, she lost her kids. Yeah, she lost her man or whatever. I wouldn't even call him that, but she didn't lose a life. You know what I mean? Like, she has the possibility to see her kids when they're adults, when they decide, hey, we want to find our mom or whatever. I don't have that opportunity ever again. So, no, she should never be able to get out, regardless of this deal. I get it. I know they had to do that. And as far as her getting out and doing well, she won't. She won't. And so, if she does get out, I'm not really worried. I'm not worried about her having this great life when she gets out, because I know for a fact she won't.
So today was the parole hearing. Kayla Montgomery had an opportunity to speak. She was being questioned by the parole officers. Let's take a look at what happened.
I didn't tell the truth about where I was during that time and not being able to cooperate with the detectives. I got all caught up in the situation, and if I just was honest from the beginning, they could have done their job sooner.
And what was their job?
To find Harmony and know what happened to her.
So Harmony was your stepdaughter, correct?
Yes.
Was she part of your family?
Yes.
So how were you protecting your family by telling this lie?
I didn't. I'm being honest. I'm not lying. And distorted thinking, which you end up changing your thoughts. I could tell you, I could lie to you and say things, but I'm not. I am nervous right now and anxious.
I understand that for sure.
Yeah, so I'm like trying my best to concentrate and not.
You have 4 other children, correct?
Yes.
And what's happening with them?
My oldest son lives with his father and stepmother and brothers. My 3 youngest, which are also my husband, ex-husband's children, they are living with my mother. They've been with her for the past almost 2.5 years. And I ended up losing my rights to them because of my crime that I am connected to. The affidavit got out, and I believe that they used it against me, which I understand.
I don't know what you're talking about here.
For my kids. So I ended up losing my kids. I lost the rights to my kids.
Right.
And the affidavit that got out about Harmony, and what it was saying and details that it was saying, I feel and believe that the CASA and the judge in that case, I believe that they were using the affidavit against me. So I lost my rights to my kids.
Do you have the ability to get those rights back?
I can, yeah. I put an appeal in.
Okay. So that's sort of but are you allowed to communicate with your children?
I haven't been. I'm not, well, DCYF still has custody of them, but they've been living with my mother.
No, I understand that, but are you allowed to communicate with them?
I have not talked to them.
I know my mother has been taking care of them.
I understand, but you have not, because
No, I
you're not
haven't
allowed to, or because you?
I don't know if it's because I'm not allowed to, or my mom's just not choosing to allow me to talk to them because I lost my rights and DCYF has custody of them. So I don't know if it's because of that.
You talked about your children a little bit.
Yeah,
You went through Family Connections.
yeah.
Never at any point during Family Connections, with all the resources they have, did you want to read a book and record it and send it home to your family for your kids to listen to? Did you ever want to do any of those things that they had? Because I know that that's an
I
option.
have.
Okay.
I've done the Cliff thing where you get books and you can send them. I have wanted to do the recording, but I don't want to do it and they can't listen to it, or it's just hard right now with the kids.
It's hard, but do you think that it will make you feel like you're trying by doing nothing, right? Because it sounds like you really want a relationship still with your children, but you just don't know if you can go there.
Yeah, because it's up to my mother.
Yeah. But there's all these options and things that you could have done to try to at least try to have some sort of relationship. You don't need to know if they get there. You just need to know that you did it.
I have been doing stuff.
Okay.
I've been doing the Cliff thing. I've been making blankets. I've been making pictures. I've been doing a lot of things.
If you're granted parole, what is your goal?
I don't even, just my recovery is number one. And just keep doing the right thing. That's just what's been in my mind, to be honest.
So when you went to school growing up, right, some people say, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be a police officer. What did you want to be?
I wanted to be a veterinarian.
You still want to be a veterinarian?
Yeah.
And let the record reflect as follows. Today's decision is your parole has been approved. However, you must complete the focus program and you must have an approved home plan.
She got it. She got parole. She'll be out in May. Wow. Wow. How about that? Let me bring in our special guest joining us. Oh, let me show you, before we bring her in, just want to show you what the deal was here. Kayla's plea deal. Take a look. She was facing 3.5 to 7 years. First charge was reduced by 18 months. The second charge was wiped. The new range was 3 to 5.5 years, and she's now set to be released in May. Okay, now let me bring in our special guest in Los Angeles, board-certified forensic psychiatrist, trial expert, witness, and columnist, Dr. Carol Lieberman. Dr. Lieberman, what are your thoughts? What is her life going to look like when she walks out of there in May?
Well, I think she is too fragile to be let out. You know, aside from the legalities of it all, you know, really, before I watched her parole hearing, I was thinking, oh, she doesn't deserve to be let out, you know, after such a short time, after what she did. But watching her, I mean, she seemed like childlike. It was like a little toddler in her pajamas, you know. She is not really... you know, you can tell that she has benefited somewhat from therapy and the programs that they have and so on, but not enough to be able to go out into the world. She's doesn't really have very much support. Doesn't seem like her mother is very supportive. You know, she doesn't know if she's keeping her away from her own children and so on. I think, you know, they're giving her a parole officer and a probation officer and programs, you know, still and for her addiction and. But she doesn't really have a direction. And then it was so interesting that her wish was to be a veterinarian, which is kind of sad, you know, that she started off like that and things happened and, you know, she's far from that. And I didn't think it was right for the person in the room to tell her that, well, you can still be that, because I might be wrong, but I don't think you can be a veterinarian when you have the history that she has. You could be probably someone who works with animals, like in a shelter or an assistant or something like that, but I hope she doesn't get find disappointed when she finds out the reality that she might not be able to be a veterinarian.
Yeah, and I think there'd be a bad combination putting someone who's clearly battled addiction problems for years, the ability to write some sort of prescription. I mean, that's,
Yes.
and I just don't think that's going to happen. Would you expect her to end up in our system of justice again?
Unfortunately, yes. I think she has good intentions. I don't think she was, lying or that she, wants to go back to a life like the life that she had. But the thing that was really striking throughout the whole probation hearing was how frightened she was. So many times she brought out about how she needs to be safe. She wants to be safe. For example, she talked about being in a sober living home when she gets out, which is a good idea, certainly. But she said, not just any sober living home. I want to be one where I can be safe. So, I think, first of all, that she's afraid of what Adam, could have people do to her on the outside because, of course, it was largely because of her that he was found guilty. But I think her fear of being safe, of course, then she was also an abused woman through Adam and so on, and maybe previous men. But this need to feel safe, I think, starts from childhood, really. And that, that might lead her into bad situations.
And how about the addiction? Is it more difficult once you're free to stay sober? How much control do you think she needs in her life to stay sober and not fall back into that world that she clearly was in?
Yes, I think she needs more than she's going to have. I think that she needs to be more in a jail or a sober living home isn't like a jail. You're not. There are varieties, but in general, you're not locked in. And so she needs more support like that. She needs more inpatient, ideally it would be like a psychiatric hospital where she's an inpatient and gets more therapy and so on to go out into the world in a stronger way.
And finally, we have about 20 seconds here. What about her seeing her 4 children?
Well, I think she should be allowed to see them when she if she stays sober. I think it's really, that's certainly something that is weighing on her, stressing her out, not being able to see them. Of course, it was strange that she said, she didn't even try really to communicate. She was afraid her mother was going to say no or whatever. But I think she's missing the maternal gene, having all these children, but missing, including with Harmony, missing enough maternal feelings.
Dr. Carol Lieberman, great to have you on. Thank you so much. We'll see you again very, very soon. All right, folks, when we come back, was justice served here? Think tank getting warmed up. We'll see what they have to say. Don't go anywhere. The first parents in America to be charged in a mass school shooting.
Involuntary manslaughter and 4 counts of it.
The gun recovered from the shooter was the same gun that was purchased by his father.
Jennifer was found guilty.
Who is responsible for storing the gun?
Now the school shooter's father is set to stand trial.
My husband is.
The school shooter dad trial. Live coverage weekday mornings, 8/7 Central on Court TV.
You can't lie.
Oh, yeah.
You can't lie, right?
Right.
It's the same on probation, it's the same on parole, right?
Yeah.
And it is a technical violation, but with you, right, you can bet they're going to be looking, right? They're going to pay attention to that technical violation because that's the charge you're here for, right?
Yeah.
So I guess my question is, how are you going to be able to deal with that? How are you going to be able to deal, because you've got some pressure on you. You're young and you've got a lot of pressure, right? Some of it you brought on by your choices, right?
Yeah.
Can't minimize that.
No.
But how are you going to deal with the pressure in the community and be able to keep yourself together and not lie? Because it's hard. But once you tell one, you're beat.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to be able to keep up.
Right. Yeah.
Right? And the microscope's going to be on you.
Yeah.
How are you going to deal with
I
that?
know that.
How are you going to deal with that?
All I can do is take it one day at a time.
One day at a time for Kayla Montgomery. She's getting out on parole. She'll be out in May. She'll be free. We still don't know where Harmony is. Let's bring in our think tank. Joining us tonight in Atlanta, Georgia, criminal defense attorney Eklund Mercy. Also with us in Phoenix, Arizona, the attorney who represented some woman whose name I will not say tonight, Kirk Nurmi. And in Columbia, South Carolina, criminal defense attorney and lawyer Lori on TikTok, Lori Murray. Great to see everyone. All right, Eklund, what do you think? Was this justice, what we saw?
I think they missed a charge. I think that she was actually honest in her trial in that she didn't do, she actually tried to help the child. The reason why everything is honest and she still deserved what she got was because of substance abuse. You can tell that she and her husband were on for a ride. So it's funny how now at parole, she's saying that she wants to go back to society and wants to be with her children. However, if you ever had a relationship with somebody who has serious substance abuse problems, I used to be a guardian ad litem, a child's attorney, and we see parents who struggle with substance abuse problems often. And what they're not going to do when they are actually within the 12 steps, they're never going to ask for their kids first. I think that's pretty selfish. They usually don't want to see the kids. They usually want to make sure that they have things together beforehand. I think what we see now with Harmony, what we see now in the Harmony case is that she already was prepared to lose her children. I think what shocked her is that she lost somebody else's.
Kirk, what do you think of Kayla Montgomery at that parole hearing today?
I tell you, Vinnie, I think she was feeding them the information that they wanted to hear. She was feeding them all the lines that she had learned in her classes and everything else. And I got to comment, if we would back up and say, justice was not done here. Let's face it, Vinnie, this was a stepmom who helped Mr. Montgomery physically cover up the murder of his daughter, lied to the police so he's not apprehended for it, and then lied to the grand jury in order to subvert justice being done. And then perhaps the most repulsive, well, not the most repulsive, but another repulsive act is she brokers the information she has in that regard to secure her own freedom. She brokers the information so she can sit down in a parole hearing and regurgitate information she learned in classes so she can be released in May. Justice was far from served here. Her culpability is much greater than her time behind bars.
Lori Murray, your thoughts tonight?
Well, I think it's a sad case when sometimes you have to make a deal with the devil, and she's definitely the devil. But, without her testimony, they probably would not have been able to convict Adam. So it was a necessary deal that the prosecutors had to make. It's an unfortunate one because she's absolutely more culpable than what's, come out and deserves more time. But it is a deal with the devil that had to be made.
Now, we've covered some in the past, but not a ton of parole hearings, right? Charles Manson was the most famous, and they never let him out. Public enemy number one, you're not going to let out. But day in and day out in our system, Eklund, people go in front of these parole boards, and the parole boards just let people go. They're like in the business of letting people go. I would rather have a system that's more honest about how much time somebody gets. And I'd rather have judges and juries make decisions on how much time people do rather than this parole board who is detached from the victims in the case.
Well, just like mental health is real, substance abuse is real. And it affects a lot of people. And we see it consistently in the criminal justice system. What we see right here is an addict. And she is doing addict moves. And you have to, her culpability is kind of overshadowed by her addiction. All she saw was drugs and her dealer, which was her husband, for drugs. When she's talking about culpability with Harmony, she just saw drugs. When she was brokering the deal, she brokered the deal so she can get back to her drugs. When she, is claiming for a parole, you can tell, well, I don't know her, but from my experience, you can see when addicts are ready to get out. And I think that it's more of a setup for her to be released. And she never even grazed over the first step, which is to say that you were powerless because of the drugs. In her parole hearing, we don't even hear about substance abuse. We hear about her children. We hear about her being sorry. We don't hear why she was in that situation in the first place, because I believe she wants to get back to it.
Lori, one of the things that speaks volumes to me, and when I found this out, I was shocked. I was floored. But you do the timing, and it did happen. She witnesses the murder of a child at the hands of Adam Montgomery, and then decides to make another baby with him.
I don't think that a lot of this makes sense, and I disagree with a lot of the drugs made me do it terminology that's been used, but there's certainly a drug problem, but I don't know that you can put off this much abuse and this violent of a crime and this much of a cover-up on drugs. There's a lot more at play here. There's covering up for yourself. There's, blind love for Adam, God knows why. But these people are young, they're stupid. Drugs obviously did play a part, but I don't think you can blame drugs for all of it. You can't just blame drugs for every single crime that is committed. And I want to just talk about one of the things that you were talking about, in that you want to see truth in sentencing. You want to see judges actually talk about, give you the amount of time. But I see that as a problem, and I understand the frustration in that, but, good time served is a way to make inmates behave when they are incarcerated, so they have some kind of incentive. So I think it's a necessary evil as well. Again, deals with the devil. It's not fun, but it is the justice system that we have.
Yeah, but they all get out. They all get out. They don't listen to the victims. All right, here we go. They're with us the whole hour. Up next. James Crumbley's son murdered 4 students during the Oxford school shooting. Now James is on trial, charged with 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter. We have today's big moments.
On count 1 of involuntary manslaughter as to Madison Baldwin, we find the defendant guilty of involuntary manslaughter. On count 2 of involuntary manslaughter in regards to Tate Muir, we find the defendant guilty of involuntary manslaughter. On count 3, as to involuntary manslaughter regarding Hannah St. Juliana, we find the defendant guilty of involuntary manslaughter. And in count 4 of involuntary manslaughter against Justin Schilling, we find the defendant guilty of involuntary manslaughter.
Shocking moment inside the courtroom. That was Jennifer Crumbley, found guilty of 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter. Here are the victims. They were all murdered by her son, Tate Meyer, Madison Baldwin, Hannah St. Juliana, and Justin Schilling, all shot and killed by her son. She was convicted of the involuntary manslaughter of these 4 young people. Well, now her husband was back in court today for his trial. Let's take a look at the biggest moments inside the courtroom.
There are 3 people in this world who are criminally responsible for the deaths of Hannah, Madison, Tate, and Justin. The shooter who committed murder, no doubt, he's responsible. But so are his parents. And now for murder. They're responsible for their gross negligence, for involuntary manslaughter. You'll see evidence that as early as spring of 2021, the shooter had expressed to his one and only friend that he had asked his father for help. He told him to suck it up. you will hear that there was one and only one person who called the police that day to identify their kid as a suspected shooter. It was James Crumbley.
This case is not about what happened inside of Oxford High School. This case is about what happened outside of Oxford High School. Ladies and gentlemen, James Crumbley was not aware that his son had access to that firearm.
What I was hearing, the two additional things that I was hearing was like a loud pop, 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 and then multiple doors slamming. So I lock eyes with this person, and I see some movement coming from the side of him, and I realize that he's raising a gun to me. There's an entrance and an exit wound, and the line in the middle is where the bullet cauterized my flesh.
The captain comes in and he goes, he said there's been a shooting at the high school, and he said all hands on deck. You just saw these kids just coming down from where the school was. Like, it's hard to describe. They look like zombies. Like, they had no facial expression, nothing. The shooter came out of the bathroom. I'll never forget it. He came out of that bathroom like what I've referred to before in my life, like a proud chest. Like, his shoulders were back. You see a whole bunch of kids, and you see a whole bunch of teachers standing at doors, just grabbing kids as they ran by and just throwing them into a room.
The trial continues tomorrow, Friday, Michigan versus James Crumbley. Let's bring back in our think tank, Eklund, Mercy, Kirk Nurmi, Lori Murray. Kirk, is this guy better or worse than his wife?
Vinny, he bought the gun. His son comes to him for help, and he tells him to suck it up, and he still bought him a gun. He's aware of some of the drawings he's put on this math paper. He does nothing to secure the gun. He has a sense, as the prosecutor described, James is the first one to call in to identify his son as a shooter. That makes it foreseeable within his mind, and all those simple steps he could have made to prevent all the tragedy we're experiencing right now. And to hear some of this testimony again is just heartbreaking. But ultimately, he's way more culpable than his wife, and he's going to meet the same fate when this case is over.
Lori Murray, this case, his wife's case, breaking new ground. First time we're seeing the parents of a school shooter prosecuted. What do you think of this guy?
I think he is the reason that plea agreements were invented, and I'm not sure why he didn't take one. This is a horrible case, and the emotions will play very high in this case, just like they did in the mom's case. But he's the one who ran. These are not just horrible parents, which they are horrible parents, but they're horrible humans. They are, they tried to cover up afterwards. They tried to get away from the law afterwards. They were, their conduct prior to the shooting was horrible. I just don't see much that is redeeming about either one of them.
Eklund?
I actually think that the county went wrong by prosecuting the parents. I think that their resources and all their resources and their funds could have gone to letting parents know what to do if they suspect their child may be a shooter. Maybe the steps of getting a therapist and letting people know that a therapist is a mandatory reporter and would report, and they don't have to jump the gun and just call the cops on their kid first. I don't think it's unreasonable to want to protect your child, but I also don't think it's very reasonable for a parent to want to think the best of their child. So I think that this is very tricky. Because how much will a parent be responsible for? And I think that they should have started it off with steps on what to do if you think this is it. And then if somebody else does it, then we prosecute. I think that, I know ignorance of the law is no excuse. However, nothing was ever delineated on what to do if you suspect your own child to be a killer.
Kirk, this prosecution team, this office, and we heard it in the opening statement, 3 people are responsible. That's where they drew the line. A lot of people wondering, though, about the school and the school officials. There was the meeting in the morning. The pictures had been drawn. Information was there. No actions were taken. The child wasn't sent home. The child wasn't suspended. The child wasn't put in with a counselor and given help. The child was sent back to the classroom with the backpack that was not searched. What are your thoughts about the school and the DA choosing to draw the line at the parents?
Well, look, I think, it made me a little queasy at first thinking that they're charging anybody besides the shooter for this killing, right? The parent. But then when the facts are so egregious, you realize, okay, that makes some sense. But then again, how far does this go in terms of criminal liability, right? The buck has to stop somewhere. And ultimately, the parents know all this stuff. The kids, the schools aren't responsible for parenting the children. The child goes to the dad, says he's struggling, he says, suck it up. There's all this diary, all these things. We can make an argument whether the school should add metal detectors, search the bag. Okay, great, that's one thing, but that's not necessarily criminal liability. That could be civil liability. But ultimately, the line has to draw somewhere, and the parents had such insight. And going back to the fact that the father bought the gun, it's throwing fuel on the fire and walking away from it. So, and that is something that no one at the school would have had any knowledge of.
All right. We'll continue to watch this trial tomorrow. In the meantime, fasten the seatbelts. Up next. In tonight's Tank Takes, a new TSA program modeled after self-checkout supermarkets with no TSA agents present. What's next? Pilot-free airplanes?
Ion kicks off the National Women's Soccer League starting March 16th.
She scores! She's on fire! Wow!
See the full schedule and find where to watch at IONNWSL.com.
Welcome back. Time for tonight's Tank Takes, where we take a look at the world of crime and justice and take a look at stories that don't fit in the rest of the show, but they fit very well here at the end. Still with us, our think tank, Eklund Mercy, Kirk Nurmi, and Lori Murray. Are you ready?
Ready.
Let's get to it. First one, I'm calling this one Chat TSA. TSA is introducing a new self-screening technology at Harry Reid Airport in Las Vegas. It's kind of like when you go to the grocery store and do the self-checkout. There's no TSA agents there. It's being tested for the first time Wednesday. It'll officially launch on March 11th. And I'm wondering tonight, we have video of these new machines in action obtained by CBS News. Take a look. They're doing it all by themselves. Look at this. There's the agents just, I guess, watching them on a computer screen somewhere, and they're doing a little self-checkout. What's next? Pilot-free planes here, Eklund Mercy?
I'm gonna say a hard no. I just watched Terminator 2 again recently, and I'm gonna say no. Because here's the thing. I feel like if it hasn't been practiced in the private sector a lot, how we're going to do it in TSA. And if I still have to take my shoes off, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. If I have to take my shoes off, it's not working.
Kirk, what could possibly go wrong here?
I don't know, Vinny. You've been talking to AI Nurmi all hour. I'm the real one sitting on the couch watching basketball.
Yeah, Lori, I think they have a special lane if you have 10 weapons or less.
Listen, I can't wait to make myself take off everything and find that one penny in the pocket. And I really hope that what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Y'all keep it there. Don't send it anywhere else.
All right. Next story. I'm calling this one a gift horse. This was actually from Russia. A man gets into an argument with his woman. Goes out, I think he gets has a few bottles of vodka maybe, gets a little drunk, and then comes back home to make amends to his woman by riding a horse into the apartment building at 3 a.m. This video was uploaded to the social media platform Telegram. Check it out. And it's a nice white horse. Like, how charming is that? My goodness, who wouldn't love this Prince Charming, Lori Murray?
Listen, I'm just glad he wasn't singing Save a Horse.
Kirk, what do you think of this Prince Charming?
I think this guy's been through the desert on a horse with no name, but at least he didn't do the Godfather treatment, Vinny. Good for the horse.
Good, yeah, good ending for the horse here. I've got one more for you, folks. Take a look. I'm calling this one Not So Convenient. A woman, 72 years old, shows up at this convenience store before it actually opens. And when it does open, they got to kind of open the shutter. This final video was posted to TikTok. See what happens. Oh, my goodness. Wow. Wow. Let me ask you, Eklund, is this better than hanging at the mall?
Why did he do that to her? Is she okay? Is she okay?
She's fine. She's going to be rescued. Lori, your thoughts?
I just keep waiting on Popeye to show up. It's like a cartoon. Like, doesn't that happen in cartoons? I mean, I can't think of anybody more current, but somebody show up and help this woman.
Kirk Nermy, you have the final word tonight.
Nobody's done it so well since Sally Field and the Flying Nun, Vinny. That was beautiful work by her.
There you go. Great job. Thank you all so much. Eklund Mercy, Kirk Nermy, and Lori Murray. I appreciate it. We appreciate it. We'll see you again really, really soon. All right, before we go tonight, folks, take a look at your television screens. This is India Dukes. She's only 13 years old. 13, missing out of Rochester City, New York. If you see her, please do something. Pick up the phone, make the call. 911, 1-800-THE-LOST, or you can call the Rochester City Police Department in New York. That phone number is on the screen. Let's see if we can get India to a safe place tonight. I'm Vinnie Politan. Thank you for watching. Have a great night. And as always, please don't forget to hug the kids.